Think you need hundreds of practice questions to pass the Microsoft Azure Fundamentals AZ-900 exam? Think again. Many candidates spend weeks cramming facts but still struggle because the exam tests cloud concepts, not memorization. In this video, you'll work through carefully selected AZ-900 questions covering some of the most important exam topics. Pause before each answer, make your choice, then compare it with the explanation as I break down Microsoft's reasoning and share practical exam tips to help you answer similar questions faster. Whether you're new to Azure, an IT professional, a student, or preparing for your first cloud certification, this video will help you study smarter, not harder. Let's get started. Question 1. Your company has a software assurance agreement that includes Microsoft SQL Server licenses. You plan to deploy SQL Server on Azure virtual machines. What should you do to minimize licensing costs for the deployment? A. Use Azure reservations. B. Use Azure hybrid benefit. C. Delocate the virtual machines during off hours. D. Configure Azure cost management budgets. Pause for 5 seconds and choose the correct answer. Correct. Answer B. Use Azure hybrid benefit. Explanation. Since your company already has a software assurance agreement that includes Microsoft SQL Server licenses, you can use Azure hybrid benefit, AHB, to bring your existing SQL Server licenses to Azure virtual machines. This allows you to pay only for the VM compute costs while reusing your on-premises SQL Server licenses, significantly reducing licensing costs. Question 2. Which Azure service is primarily designed for storing unstructured data such as images, videos, and backup files? A. Azure SQL Database. B. Azure Blob Storage. C. Azure Files. D. Azure Virtual Machines. Pause for 5 seconds and choose the correct answer. Correct answer B. Azure Blob Storage. Explanation. Azure Blob Storage is Microsoft's object storage solution. It's optimized for large amounts of unstructured data, including images, videos, documents, backups, log files. Blob storage is highly scalable, durable, and commonly appears in AZ-900 exam questions. Question 3. Which Azure service can you use as a security information and event management (SIEM) solution? A. Azure Analysis Services. B. Azure Cognitive Services. C. Azure Sentinel. D. Azure Information Protection. Pause for 5 seconds and choose the correct answer. The correct answer is C. Azure Sentinel. Microsoft Azure Sentinel, now known as Microsoft Sentinel, is a cloud-native security information and event management (SIEM) and security orchestration, automation, and response (SOAR) solution. One of the best ways to prepare is by practicing with questions that reflect the style and difficulty of the actual exam. Resources like Pass4 success practice questions can help reinforce important concepts while identifying areas that need additional study before exam day. Question 4. You plan to provision infrastructure as a service, IaaS, resources in Azure. Which resource is an example of IaaS? A. An Azure web app. B. An Azure virtual machine. C. An Azure logic app. D. An Azure SQL database. Pause for 5 seconds and choose the correct answer. Correct answer B. An Azure virtual machine. Explanation. An Azure virtual machine is an example of infrastructure as a service, IaaS. Azure Web App, Azure Logic App, and Azure SQL Database are all examples of Platform as a Service, PaaS. Question number 5. An organization wants to reduce its Azure cloud costs by committing to the long-term use of certain Azure resources instead of paying standard on-demand prices. Which Azure pricing feature is designed to provide these cost savings? A. Pay-as-you-go. B. Azure Reservations. C. Azure Marketplace. D. Azure Portal. Pause for 5 seconds and choose the correct answer. Correct answer B. Azure Reservations. Azure Reservations help organizations reduce costs by offering discounted pricing when they commit to using eligible Azure resources for a 1-year or 3-year term. This is ideal for predictable, long-term workloads compared to paying standard pay-as-you-go rates. Nice work! You just completed high-impact AZ-900 questions and learned the reasoning behind each answer. That's the goal of this series, to help you understand the concepts, not just memorize answers. If you want more up-to-date AZ-900 practice questions with detailed explanations, visit pass4success.com and keep building your confidence before exam day. If you found this video helpful, please like, subscribe, and let us know your score in the comments. See you in the next episode, where we'll tackle 6 more AZ-900 questions to help you prepare for the Microsoft Azure Fundamentals exam. Thanks for watching, and good luck on your AZ-900 exam.